We still have people joining in, which is awesome. Thank you so much for coming today on Wednesday morning. Hopefully everybody had their coffee and breakfast. All right, I think Brent, go ahead.
Well, good morning, everybody. My name is Brent Schmidt. I'm one of the senior integration engineers here at KIS. KIS stands for Keep It Simple. We provide technology consulting services to a wide range of technology solutions. The company specializes in virtualization solutions for the cloud, network security management and storage, as well as unified communications. KIS has been around since 1988, and we have completed thousands of projects and implementations across mission critical emergency repairs and whatnot. I have been with KIS myself for approximately 26 years and deal with Veeam quite heavily. Really glad to be here with everyone today to talk about Veeam. Veeam being one of the most scalable and flexible and affordable backup solutions that we have on the market at the moment, being one of the backup leaders. Today I have Joe and Sean with me, with Veeam, as well as Nick and Matt from KIS.
Joe, Sean, briefly introduce yourself and then I'll kick off with the trivia question.
All right, I'm Joe Gio. I am what they call the technical partner manager. I'm basically the SC for focus partners in California and Hawaii. So I live right here in the Bay Area. Been doing this for a long time. I've been working with KIS for a while now, and good people, good team.
Perfect. Thanks, Joe. Yep. Hi, everyone. My name is Sean Everhart. I am the partner manager here in the Bay Area. Been with Veeam about a year. I have been in the kind of storage software industry for coming up on 10 years. Spent some time at Oracle, Red Hat, and most recently NetApp. So it's nice to meet all of you.
Yes, let's start a trivia game. Let me just launch it.
I like games.
Yes. So our first, and now of course you will answer it via poll that will be pop up in 3, 2, 1 right now. So Brent, go ahead and read the question.
So local files backed up on your computer will protect you from data loss in a ransomware attack. True or false?
Let's see, get anybody.
Yes, I have some music going. And you have 10 minutes. I mean, 10 seconds, sorry, 10 seconds to answer it. Yes. Well, mostly already people punched in.
Oh yeah, it's a landslide.
Yes. And of course, that's false.
Yep.
Yes. Cool. And let's do the second one. And then we can share quickly the results. Good job, everybody. And everybody knows that it's false. And
Yeah, do you really want to have a second place for your backup data?
Now let's do the second one. There you go.
So what are the ways that ransomware attacks happen?
Here you go. Let's go. Via email, phishing or attachment, through a server using software vulnerability, or all of the above. And we have what? There you go. That's good. That's good.
Those are softballs.
Yeah, there you go. We have all of the above. Correct, people. Good job. All right. Oops, this one is, let's do, not right now. So a little sneak peek. All right, Joe.
All right.
Quickly share this. Go ahead. Do you want to share your screen or?
Let me see about sharing this thing. Share. Can you guys see it?
Yes, but yes, perfect.
Okay, here we go. Hold on, okay, which screen do you see?
We see the presentation screen. So yeah.
Oh, all right, good. Okay, so introduced ourselves already. Thanks everybody for coming on. Feel free to ask questions. It's open. We're trying to have like a fireside chat, whatever that is. But it's don't be shy, I guess is the point. And so let's get into this right away. I'm going to look over here because I want to pretend I'm looking at Sean. Sean, are you this way or are you on this side? Anyway, some statistics from last year basically are saying that the chances of you getting hit with ransomware, I'm sure you guys have all heard it. But did you know that of the companies who choose to pay the ransom, only a third don't recover their data? About a third don't get their data. So they pay it and they get nothing. Only 19% of those companies are able to pay without ransom. That's scary. The cost of cyber insurance, I hear, is not only going through the roof, but harder to get, harder to hold on to. Every single one of these companies on the survey had a DR plan, a disaster recovery plan, but it fell short of the ultimate goal, which is a clean recovery, wherever it is that you want to recover. With 1 to 2 weeks being the average downtime, this could be catastrophic for a lot of businesses. Don't you think, Sean? I mean, we talked about this. We've been talking about City of Oakland for a while. Why don't you share your insight?
Yeah, City of Oakland, there's obviously quite a few ways to go about, or just to discuss this. So you mentioned the 33% of companies that didn't recover the data. Let's say you go into even the ones who do. A friend of mine is the old head of security over at Apple, and we were chatting about this. Our kids are in the same preschool class, so we had a little conversation. And even if you do recover your data, a lot of these ransomware players that are out there, or what do they call them, ransomware gangs, are building in components to what so basically it's like ransomware as a service. So 2 years later, they will come and hit you again. You mentioned City of Oakland, specifically, they're 2 months in to their attack. I believe from the last numbers I heard, they've only recovered 85% of their data as of now, and their systems are only 85% up. Well, at the beginning, a lot of the components, as you think, if you're a municipality, what's a big driver for you is to generate revenue, whether that's from business taxes or from fees around, everything from a parking ticket up into fees for construction. For a month, they couldn't get any of that. So you're talking about there's some serious revenue applications or revenue components to that. So, it's more than
money
just
lost.
Yeah. And like you said, Joe, the 80% or in the last 2 years, ransomware premiums or ransomware cyber insurance premiums have gone up 80%. And the questionnaires that are required for you to check those boxes have doubled. So instead of only having to do, let's say, 50 questions, now you're talking about 100 questions. And that's just to get, not necessarily great coverage at, twice the premium price too. So there's that component to it. So that's what I got from that, Jeff.
Thanks, man. All right, so backup is easy. It's the recovery part that's hard. And that's the part that I really think that a lot of people may not really understand. They just want to back it up. But how do you back it up? Most companies have some form of backup plan, but again, it always falls short during like a wide scale outage. So your goal is to make sure that you are part of the 19% who don't have to pay the ransom, right? Because you're confident in your recovery. And Veeam, our goal is to get you there, right? We give you a lot of recovery strategies and work with you to make sure that when a crisis hits, you've got everything you need to recover data cleanly, quickly. So we are the best at data recovery. I should know I've been in the industry. I'm in my 50s, so I've been doing this for a while. Going back to the days, I remember the days of tape and Iron Mountain, and trying to recover on that, only to realize your drivers are all out. I'm sure you do, Brent, right? And the time it took to actually update those drivers before you could actually even test the restore.
Yeah, especially when the backup had to be recovered from tape, it does take a little bit longer, though the tape does give you some of the best air gap capabilities that
That's true. It still lives.
that can be delivered. So yeah,
Yeah,
tapes are very, very viable.
Yep. I hear that all the time, but it also dates us.
True,
Anyway,
but tape technology is still growing, so it's getting faster and higher densities.
yeah, I like that. All right, so let's move on. I don't know where Sean went. I can't see you, so. But this is our approach to software, right? A lot of companies talk about their bells and whistles, right? But they kind of avoid the topic of recovery because they can't do it fast, and it's not reliable, and it's not at scale. And let's face it, if you can't recover your data, nothing matters, right? You're going to have a lot of challenges when you're hit with ransomware. So we're going to focus on the capabilities you need to get your data back into production, right? There's a lot more we can do, and if it makes sense, we can get into it. But to be successful at recovery, you need to have the ability to set the right recovery options for your applications. You've got to be able to protect your backups with multiple layers of immutability, and we'll talk about that a little bit later. And you have to have data mobility, right? Be able to move your data into whatever environment, whatever platform, and still be able to recover, right? And you have to have visibility. Make sure that you're monitoring your environment. You understand what's happening because the data you're getting from these reports, like Veeam one, signify a possible problem. Round that out with automation orchestration, right? We can simplify those day two operations, and you can have confidence that when an attack happens, you're ready. I've used the orchestration plan myself. It literally cuts down recovery into minutes. You got to do your homework before you get there, but it's a great product. Again, hey, Sean, you got any comments on this one?
Yeah, sorry, I was taking a sip of water. Don't want everyone to see me doing that. But anyway, the approach, Veeam's approach, I kind of look at this holistically. I think of an organization that has made a decision on which storage platform they're going to use, or which, with that, to me, kind of the reason I went to Veeam, because we are agnostic in that respect. You have you take advantage of what you've invested in. So instead of having to have instead of having a dedicated component to backup, you can say, hey, I have a 3-year-old array over here that I want to leverage as a backup target. You could do that, and that's like, we all know, especially right now, the way the economic conditions, doing more with less. That's the way I've really kind of think of another thing, and just kind of talking to some internal people here. Veeam is definitely something that we think about, how we think about it.
Gotcha. Good insight. All right, let's keep going. So only Veeam can provide all 3 recovery options, right? Some would say option for recovery is a bad thing. We disagree. You have to have options. If you're like most companies, you have hundreds of applications and terabytes of structured and unstructured data that all have different SLAs, right? You probably also know which applications have to be brought back first during a crisis, right? A ransomware incident can get messy, City of Oakland, fast, and being locked into a single proprietary recovery process might not be enough when it comes to recovering those direct applications, right? That's a mouthful. Why is this important? Most vendors only have 1 or 2 ways to recover, which was okay before ransomware when you were recovering 3 to 5% of your data each year. Ransomware just changed all of it, by opening up the possibility that 100% of your data, your production data, could be encrypted at any time. That is scary. So we give you the ability to match your recovery to your application. So we pioneered instant recovery. What was it, 13 years ago? So you could allow restore your most critical data directly from backup with zero downtime, right? With Veeam, you have the most options for fast recovery after a ransomware attack, and we're the only vendor who could restore from replicas, snapshots, and fast-performing repositories, right? Which allows you to make sure you can always get your data back. So let's look at that architecture. Sean, you got any comments?
And so the
Go
instant
back to that real
recovery
quick.
also gives me the ability to test my backups in a quick, easy fashion, does it not?
Yes. Yes. That is it.
And you're
Great
talking
point. Go ahead, Sean.
No, I was just going to say, and as you're talking about resources being one of the biggest resources are your people, being able to help and automate that component really does cut down on those costs as an organization. You can use them for more high value business pieces within your organization.
Hey, Brent, you mentioned instant recovery. Is that part of your criteria when you're managing your customers, or when's the last time you used it? How about that?
It has been a while since I've used the instant recovery for restoring a VM. I typically use instant recovery in testing backups.
Right. Good. Yeah, that's a normal part. Okay.
And that way I can test and make sure that the backup is running the virtual machine from the backup without changing any of the backup data to make sure that when I do need to restore it, it'll work.
Cool. Good stuff. All right, let's look at the architecture. So you have your VBR server, right? That's the central management component of what we do, right? That is the foundation data platform that we offer. That's what's called foundation. You set up a backup proxy, so it's a Windows or a Linux box and those support data transports, right? It's either virtual or physical, and it's your workhorse basically. Then you have to have your repository, right? On premise. And the beautiful thing is that this has been changed to the point where now we can do local object storage. But we'll get into that a little bit later. And we do that for immutability, right? Because that's what this little lock indicates. So yeah, you can also go direct object storage. You could integrate with product storage, right? You could take a backups from storage snapshots. I think, Sean, you mentioned that earlier. Somebody did, where we could take the snapshots, scheduled snapshots or secondary snapshots, right? So we can make a backup out of that. But again, recovery is key. You've got to be able to recover at another data center. You want to be able to do it fast, whether you do near real-time recovery with CDP or just a straight replication VM. Or you could just do just storage restores. You can do just a regular restore, right, directly from the repo. So these are the different ways that we recover. Instant VM we talked about. The Veeam Explorer allows you to dig deep into your backup and find certain files along with and that works inside the system browser. So it's a comprehensive solution to be able for you to duplicate your environment in another data center, or as you see from the top, I have my data, it's mobile. I can move it to anywhere from AWS to Azure to Google, or to whatever object storage, whether it's secondary or even archive, right? We give you a lot of different tools, and we've been doing this for a long time. So we'll get back to multi-layered immutability. Now, this is probably the most important part of what we're talking about. Let me see here. Hey, Jane, are we getting close to question time again? I think it's after this one, right?
Yep.
Okay. So immutability has gone from a nice to have feature to a requirement, right? To protect against threats. Most companies struggle to protect all their data, so they feel like they have to make trade-offs between security and performance to meet the needs of the business. And those really are driven by the hardware they're focused on or forced to use, really, which limits how much data can be immutable, how fast the recovery can happen, and so on and so forth. So this is going to lead into a lack of visibility. So you can't say for sure what data is protected. We give you powerful immutability options, which allow you to protect that data from performance tier to your archives, on-prem, in the cloud, using any hardware you're already familiar with, right? We have what, 70 storage partners? I mean, there's a lot of them. And that's the reason that's important, is because we're not locking you into specific hardware. You can have multiple levels of immutability and consolidated view into your storage. Let's show you that here with a little diagram, and then we'll get into questions. And here's really what it is, right? You want to be able to have your primary copy of data. You know, it could be a hard repository, or it could be object storage, right? And why are those important? Because the data, once it's saved there, can't be written over. It's untouchable, right? It's immutable. And so your primary copies that way, but then your secondary copy, wherever it is you move it, whether it's in the Azure cloud or even to blob storage, for example, your data can be immutable in those environments. So you take a clean backup and you put it to object storage or some type of immutable storage, and that's a pretty solid foundation for backup and restore. Oh, forgot about the animation. So, all right, let's get into some fun stuff.
All right.
Do I stop share, or you?
And you don't have to
Okay.
take over. All right, here you go, Brent. Go
Hi.
ahead.
So from the survey statistics slides I shared, 85% of participants said they've been hit with ransomware. 19% were able to recover without paying the ransom. What percentage paid the ransom but still couldn't get their data back?
All right.
Oh, I know
And
this one.
here-
Could it be 40%, 11, 93, 33?
All right. And the correct answer is 33.
33%.
Bravo. And most of you guys got it. And 33%. Yes, not nice. All right,
That's kind of
next one.
scary. Like a third of the time you're going to pay and get nothing.
Yeah, because and customers that have been hit with ransomware, I mean, they deleted everything. They deleted partitions in ESXi hosts. They deleted partitions in the backup storage. They just deleted everything. So even paying the ransom, they got nothing back
Right.
because there was nothing to recover.
Yes. All
And
right,
keep it.
next one.
Okay. Oh, we got another one. Cool.
Yeah, let's do another one and then go ahead. Yeah. Here you go.
So what is multi-layered immutability?
It's a softball.
Would that be local, cloud, or offsite backups only? Backing up data to the same repository on a consistent basis? Backing up to local immutable object storage? And offsite to cloud object storage? AWS, Azure, Google Cloud?
Mhm. And now we're gonna end and the poll. And what is the answer? It's C.
And C,
Yeah, so let's see. Let's hear it.
immutability in both local and in the cloud.
Yes, that's correct. And majority of you guys got it. That's nice. All right. Gonna stop share. Go ahead, Joe.
Mm. All right. Good stuff. And keep in mind, Veeam is we're a big part of what you need to do, but there's a lot of other things you need to do to secure the network, right, Brent? I mean, that's what you guys are specialists at. So, but we give you a fighter's chance in the ability to not only back up but recover and recover quickly. That's our whole reputation. It just works, right?
Right, I mean, it's like Veeam doesn't stop the intruder, but the Veeam does everything you possibly can do to be able to recover your data if and when that intruder breaks in.
Gotcha. Yeah, and that's what you guys do. So anyway, thank you. Sean, any comments? I'm sorry, I don't mean to, I know we're by the fireside and I don't want to ignore you.
It's like sitting here with our cognac and cigar, right? No, the business impacts, obviously, I think we all know of how big this can be. And just, again, I mentioned City of Oakland, and Joe's mentioning because I actually live in the City of Oakland. For those who are familiar with Oakland, I live right by the zoo. And to see just the business impacts of it, of just disparate systems, of systems that are down for 2 weeks, our police department could not check if they were pulling someone over and checking them in their license systems, had no idea if they were what their criminal record was, because those systems were compromised.
That's scary.
One of the things. Yeah, that's now we're talking about right now the Oakland Fraternal Order of Police, or basically the police union, is in legal. They just sued the city because police information was compromised. So socials, bank account information, addresses, and you're talking about people who get threats on a daily basis. So now you're talking about not only is there the business impacts, which is making sure your citizens are safe. And now you're talking about the people who do that now could have possibly something against them against their life. So I mentioned that just because while this is from a technical standpoint is very important, it's also just business and in the way the world works, not necessarily a great thing.
Yep, losing access to your backup server, right? That's another thing. And only Veeam can restore after losing the backup server. So you've probably heard us talk about the 3-2-1 rule, where you want 3 copies of your data on 2 different media with 1 copy of offsite. You can actually get we call it a Veeam zip code when we add another 10 there. But anyway, that's later. This is a best practice, right? It's been around forever. But if you can fall short, if you lose the server that controls your backups, that's detrimental, right? And that's something that needs more attention. Did you know that 68% of ransomware attacks targeted the backup infrastructure? 68% after us. So then, obviously that makes the victims, gives them no other choice but to pay the ransom, right? So it's an effective strategy for most vendors. If you lose the backup server and its database, you lose the ability to recover, even if you have a copy of all the backups. There are other ways you can lose a server, like physically losing the building, right? Which can leave you scrambling for a new location. And then even worse, when law enforcement gets involved, then you can lose access to those backup repos, and the box you're using to run your backups becomes evidence, and it's frustrating because everything is right there. It's just, you can't access it. So our portable data format, right, means if you lose your server or data center, it's still possible to recover. You need to move from physical hardware to virtual, no problem. Between clouds, AWS, Google, or even from the cloud back to on-prem, some data center. Simple to do, right? That's why a lot of companies use Veeam for migration, right? Anyway, the point is, as long as you have a copy of the data, you can recover even if you lose the Veeam server.
And we have a question here from Michael Vargas about any resources that he can get to, or that we can recommend to get more about Veeam, as well as get certified, which I can answer that. On Veeam University, you can actually go through free training, basic training on the product to learn more about how to use Veeam, and even learn about the certification pass track.
That's beautiful. Thank you, Brett. Well done. It's like you work at Veeam. Appreciate it. That's true. Well, right. Consider us resources, because there's a lot to learn, right? Veeam gives you a lot of different tools. It's like a toolbox. You know, your main tool is this VBR server that does so much, but you stretch it all the way to orchestration and creating your disaster recovery plan, complete with reports and full functionality, and guarantee it's going to work. That's a strong, powerful solution. So this is what I mean by data mobility, right? Let's click it out, right? So this allows me to take my primary copy, right? You can see that I can recover to, a VM, EC2 instance, infrastructure as a service, a Google Cloud, VMware. I can take my secondary copy, same thing on the other end, right? But sometimes the question is, where will you recover? This is why you have to have data mobility and freedom of choice to where you want to not only store, but recover your data, right? That matters. The last thing you want to happen during a time of crisis is not to have flexible options, right? To get your business up, quick. Veeam could work with co-location sites, but for those without a secondary site, we have over 35,000 partners worldwide that offer disaster recovery as a service. KS. Let's not forget public cloud, whether that's AWS, Azure, Google. That's many other options for you to recover your backups to. And new with Veeam 12, you can actually recover physical agents into that AWS environment. Questions? You got anything, Sean? Brent, you good?
No questions for me right now.
All right. Now this is key, right? So I talked about VBR being the foundation, right? Now, and a lot of you have already been doing this, or your customers have been doing this, or you add this component, the monitoring component, and this is one of the strongest tools around. I've worked at ArcServe, StorageCraft, Zeta, which is also ArcServe, and I never saw as comprehensive a solution as Veeam One. So only Veeam can do monitoring and alerting for the production environment, right? I mentioned earlier how many companies struggle for visibility into their backups. In my opinion, you can never have enough visibility. That's why the goal is to help you know what's going on at any given time and be instantly alerted if that's what you want, if something goes wrong. To that end, we provide the analytics, which are really cool, to see things like changes in your environment that can indicate an attack against your backup. So that could be anything, right? Could be, my last backup was twice as big as the one I had yesterday. Well, I better look at that. Or this backup's taking more CPU, It's easy to take for granted, but it's amazing how many subtle changes an attacker can make that will only be discovered in the middle of attack. And, it's too late there. With Veeam, you can monitor changes that indicate an attack and automate responses or send alerts off to your SIEM, right, to help your security teams narrow down the scope of whatever infection it might be. Excuse me. So here's an example. Attackers have been making changes to backup jobs so the job runs correctly, but the data isn't valid. That's scary. They back up the same amount of data, but it's garbage, right? So the attacker is counting on you only looking at things like the audit logs, so you see the job completed and you don't find out the data is missing until it's too late. So being able to not only see when the job was changed, but also know who made the changes and what data was affected can help the security team scope and attack and limit the damage, right? Big, really important part of the equation. And so these are this is basically how Veeam One works, right? We're constantly polling the Veeam One clients, right? And any Veeam agent, right? VBR server, orchestrator, everything that you see on this schematic, excuse me. Oh boy, sorry. Sean, you got anything for me? I'm sorry, I'm choking here. All right, Sean's gone. Do you use Veeam One much, Brent?
Yes, I do.
No,
use
I'm
Veeam One.
here. Sorry,
I have
Joe.
Veeam One at multiple customer sites, and Veeam One is also used in the KISS cloud, backup as a service.
Yep.
It is something that I use to keep an eye on backup changes to make sure, I can get a notification if a customer's backup is abnormally large. That would be something that we would want to take a look at. I also like using it for determining the change rate for systems, because the change rate can determine how big the backups eventually will grow. And it's nice to get a deployment of Veeam 1 out at customer site, let it run for a week up to 3 weeks. And then we can pull reports to find out how big do backups grow on a daily basis, so that we can right size the target storage. Because that's probably one of the most challenging aspects of a design, is making sure that we get enough storage to do what we want to do with the backup.
Exactly. Thanks for that. That's great input. Capacity planning, right?
And
What performance trends are happening? Go ahead, Sean.
no, I was going to say, to that point, Brent, it kind of ties to that capacity planning component. Obviously, that's a big part. You're asking for budget. You need to know that as an organization, you have to be really tight on that, because it's, another friend of mine has a consulting business around Splunk. And essentially what ended up happening is one of their customers ended up having to have a $500,000 out of budget cycle ask because they didn't do that correct capacity planning. So it's really, from a business operations standpoint, I wouldn't want to be that guy who goes and asks for $500,000.
And Splunk is a huge data producer.
Yep. Oh, just a little bit.
That's hilarious. Hilarious, but not really. All right, so this is just an example, a screenshot of how Veeam 1 can help with ransomware protection. So when we provide the ability to monitor your environment closely, so you can be aware of any of that suspicious activity, right? We analyze CPU, like Brett was talking about, data rate, data store write rates, network transmission rates, incremental backup size. So Veeam 1 is a tool that can help identify if there's suspicious activity, right? The alarm is triggered, and the Veeam admins know what's up. Could take action. Yep. This is another screenshot. We keep belaboring this, but it's true. This is one of the things that you look at. If you see CPU usage abnormally high like this, and you've got an alarm or thresholds set, you can be alerted to this.
Yeah, it's like an alarm that triggers when something abnormal happens. Pretty much anything abnormal happens, right, Joe?
Absolutely, yes. Whenever you set up too. There's a lot that can, but yeah, here's even more data, right? That last backup was 159.5% abnormal, right? It's the above the configured threshold. Definitely good. What else do we have? Oh, there you go. The amount of time it took for this backup was longer than the other ones. Boy, ransomware is impossible. This one's and then this one is the reporting tools, right? So that's another really cool thing about Veeam 1 is the reports that you get. So if you need compliance reports, they're beautiful, right? Anything for regulations, we'll have all sorts of reporting options in Veeam 1. And then this is the alarm management, right? Where you can set up the alarm management interface now. If you're interested in getting your hands on this, Brent can help you, or we have a hands-on lab that Brent can forward the link to you, and then you can actually go through the deployment and understand what Veeam 1 does by actually installing it in a live environment. And then we run you through all the capabilities in about 45 minutes to an hour. So sorry to volunteer you there, Brett, but
labs can be fun.
Yep. And so this is coming, integration with ServiceNow. We'll have an announcement on that. Sean, I think they said it's later this year, right? with
Correct.
12A.
Later this year.
Yeah. Brent, what do you think of this integration with ServiceNow? Is that something that makes a difference to you?
I haven't used that feature yet.
We hear a lot about it, right, Sean?
Yeah, and we hear a lot about it. I saw the kind of on, you think about a Veeam one and the chargeback showback. Obviously, people are trying to get tighter with budgets in order to really understand where people are what department's costing you the most. What I have seen in my career is you'll get a lot of instances where you have certain departments that are leveraging 50% of the resources, but are really only responsible for driving 10% of the revenue for the organization. So, ServiceNow is kind of the big, how do I say this? It's not cheap, right? It's a very expensive solution. It's good at what it does, but in order to make the best out of it, having that integration component to it. So it's like, hey, we're doing work on this application. What's our standard practice for backup? Okay, here's a Veeam backup right here. So we see it a lot. We see it a lot, especially on some of the commercial side of the house, commercial and enterprise. So
yep, a lot of conversations always coming up. All right, let's see, and then this leads us to the premium data platform, the Veeam Premium Data Platform. It's a new name this year, but the technology's been around for a while. It's Orchestrator, Veeam Orchestrator. And so what that's going to do is provide that dynamic documentation, right, and testing of your DR plans, right. So you can show those to the powers that be and get in compliance with just a beautiful report. Again, there is a lab on this that Brent could set you up with. So, like I said, most companies rely on audit logs to determine if the backup was successful. They hope that the data is available, but they don't have the time to test a DR plan. And most people admit that the process is too difficult and manual to be done on a regular basis, right? They're lucky to get it done once a quarter. So this opens significant room for error during a ransomware crisis. There was a study by the IDC that said that most companies only update and test their DR recovery plans and test those plans once a year. Once. Cyber criminals are counting on you acting like most companies. So I've heard this. I heard the other SEs talk about this. Hope is not a strategy, right? Which is why Veeam gives you the ability to automatically create and maintain your discovery or your DR plans, right? And use those plans as a baseline for regular automated testing, right? You set it up and it runs and then it reports. That's beautiful. I've set this up in my lab, and it's just a great way to basically CYA. So we're not only help you prove that your backups work, but we make sure that you can recover all your applications without surprises. So I've literally set up a virtual environment where I can take my backups and test them in there, run them through AV. Let's talk about that. Right? Do what we call a clean DR, right? So Orchestrator is that server that I was talking to you, and that's the premium data plan, which includes obviously VBR, Veeam Backup Replication, the foundation, and then Veeam 1, which is the advanced version, and then the limo, the Orchestrator server, right? And Orchestrator comes with a copy of VBR on it. So there's a lot of different options you can do. But in a clean DR state, this is our term of saying, look, pick your multiple restore points. Let me know how many you want to test, and then mount them directly from the backup file to this mount server that I set up, right? And then I have AV software installed with the latest definitions. Hard to do, but it can be done. Just make sure that you keep those up to date. And then you do the AV check, right? If no infections are found in this environment, right, in our virtual little bubble, this little cloud, then if no infections are found, just keep restoring, right? I want to make sure it works. If an infection is found, what do you want to do? In some instances, I can choose to proceed to the next available restore point, right? or I could just stop, right? Infection found, stop the restore, and then, you know, anything after that, right? And so this is an example of some of the AV tools that work out of the box with Veeam, right? But you know, via API, you can connect to just about anything. But you scrub your backups in this clean DR environment, right? And then this last one says that you can recover or do something in Azure, right? So that a new feature that came in V12 is the ability to orchestrate a restore, not just between your primary and secondary data centers, right, which are running VMware, but now I can restore to Azure as well, right? The VMware environment in Azure, and then I can also take a physical agent and restore to Azure. So a lot of cool things just happened. Well, we're running out of time, aren't we? I better speed this up. Okay, so we covered a lot, and that's only a small sampling of our capabilities, right? We could go on for a long time, but the takeaway is recovering from ransomware can be messy, and most solutions aren't designed to provide recovery at the scale created by ransomware. These vendors want you to believe that one size fits all, and they make it easy because you're just clicking a button, right? Securing and setting up your backup network is a process. It's not one button, it just works. And you shouldn't believe that, in my opinion. At Veeam, we know every environment is different, and you need a solution that allows you to recover your data. I mean, that's why we're talking after all, right? So we work with you to choose your level of performance, choose your level of protection, and choose what's important to your business. We're the best at data recovery because we've always been focused on it. Everything we do is designed to help you successfully back up your data and get it back into production after a crisis. And then Sean, this is your slide if you want.
The brag slide, as I like to say. No, we're just, you know, the reason a lot of people obviously leverage us is one, we're easy to work with. A lot of people, 82% net promoter score is one of the highest in the industry, 81% in Fortune 500 companies. And really, when we're in the Gartner Magic Quadrant, we're number one as far as the ability to execute. So we've seen, that's why we've continued to grow. And, you know, at the end of the day, Joe's been mentioning, you know, it's a couple different pieces, which is why we work with KIS, the ability to come in, to drive the strategy, to say, hey, here's how you do it. That's just something that we've been really successful with. So, you know, we have a lot of customers. If you or anyone in your org needs to talk to someone or wants to find out a use case, you know, we're here to help. That's what I have to say to that, Joe.
Thanks. All right. So I mean, that's not all. Just like we believe that you should own your own data and that your own business continuity is the priority at Veeam, we believe in a truly multi-layered whole platform approach, right? We want to partner with you, which is why we have a rapid response SWAT team, believe it or not, to help you when disaster strikes, to get you recovered and back in business faster with more freedom than any other vendor. They're part of the team of experts here to help you, along with client success reps. We have our accredited service partners, and to help you get started to make sure you're set up for success, right? You've got Brent, Jane, myself. You got a lot of resources. So we're not going to give you a box and say, hey, good luck. You know, we've got your back. So we'd like to say that Veeam makes recovery easy. 19% is way too low of a number for anyone to be happy if you can't recover your data. Which is why we just don't give you a box. You know, I mentioned that earlier. So anyway, how about a final round of questions?
Yes, let's do it. Yep. Two last questions. Yay. All right. Go ahead, Brent.
So local object storage is your friend because we don't need a Linux admin to manage it. Our data written to object storage is immutable. Faster recovery when local storage, or all of the above.
And there you go. There's a time's
was
up. And of course it is all the above. All right.
I like it.
And yes, yes, yes. Good job, people. Good job. All right, last one. I have last one question. There you go.
All right. And Veeam is the superior solution because
Oh, this is a brag question. Come on, man. Who put this in there?
Oh, I just stopped sharing. I was like, why I can't launch it? There you go.
you own your data of the incredible amount of restore options, super fast recovery, and many options for immutable data. 17 years, and yep, all of the above.
What a brag.
of course-
That's a flex.
Yeah. Yeah. So yes, it is all the above. Good job. And everybody got that right. Yes. Yeah.
Cool.
All right. Thank you. Thank you for playing with us. Thanks, Brent, for reading the questions.
Yeah, that was good. That was good. I mean, that's what we have for you, Jane. I mean, we're open to any other questions or anything.
Yeah, let's have a few more questions. If not, then we can just punch in the chat or, unmute yourself and ask. Otherwise, we can all dismiss.
Yeah. See something in chat. Anything?
Nope.
Oh, no, the free training. Well, I hope you guys all got maybe a little something out of it. Jane, KAS, Brent, thank you for the opportunity. John, thanks for joining, buddy.
Thanks, Win. Yes, thanks, Joe, Sean, Brent again. Have a nice day.
Thank you,
And we
everybody,
have-
for joining.
Thank you.